If you play games on PC and you've looked down at your keyboard and thought, man, I really only need half of this, then do I have the keyboard for you? What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're taking a look at a keyboard style that I've never actually tried, and I've tried a lot of keyboards over the years, but never a one-handed keyboard, specifically the Lemokey L0 HE. Now, before we get going, I was sent this for review, but I was super interested in going hands-on with this one for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I did want to see how this style of keyboard and layout felt, and number two, I'm super interested in this brand. Because if you've never heard of Lemokey, you might have heard of the parent company Keychron, which is a big name in the keyboard space, and Lemokey is basically their gaming-specific spinoff that's offering a more tech-centric look, plus some gamer-focused features that we'll get into more in a minute. But first, quick shout-out to Into the AM. If you're looking for high-quality looks that won't break the bank, then Into the AM has you covered, from some simple everyday basics with very clean looks like I'm wearing, to stylish graphic tees and hoodies that are hand-drawn by real artists every month and not generated by AI, which is a crazy thing that we have to say now, but here we are. No matter what you want, they've got you covered, and you can check out the entire lineup at intotheam.com and save 10% with my code JPS at checkout. But now, back to the keyboard. Now, taking a quick look at the box, you've got a really clean shot of the keyboard, some very nice branding, and an overview of some of the features you can expect from this thing, including the 8K polling rate, which is one of the big features among a few other things that we'll get into more in a minute. But getting into what's in the box, you've got the quick start guide that gives you an overview of the keys, preset shortcuts and features, a little booklet of official documentation that's a little smaller, a little thicker, and some extra keycaps to pop on depending on your operating system, so you can customize this thing to fit your need. And they also throw in a keycap puller and a screwdriver so you can pop off the keycaps and change out the switches, which are hot swappable, but only kind of, and we'll talk about that in my caveat section in a minute. And then you've got your 5-foot USB-C to USB-C cable plus a USB-A converter, so you can throw this on a regular USB-A port, and then the star of the show, the L0 HE. As soon as you get this thing out of the bag, the first thing you notice is the style. It's got this kind of metallic emerald finish on the top with a pretty large volume knob on the side that is actually smaller than it looks, but that's still okay. It's about what you do with it. And it also has a super satisfying tactile sound, so I'll let you get a little hit of that too. And then there's the style of some of the keycaps here. The letter and number keys have the usual font, but it's kind of rocking this cyberpunk tech aesthetic on the F keys, along with the control function, Alt, Shift, Caps Lock, and Tab, but all of these keys have shine-through PPT keycaps that have a kind of hazy, translucent base to them. So that RGB really pops, and then you can set that to be whatever you want with different kinds of settings, modes, looks, colors, all that good stuff. And if you really like the green trim, then this could be the keyboard for you, but there's a big catch here. It's a 35-key keyboard, so at the risk of stating the obvious, if you didn't notice, it's half a keyboard, so if you want to type your memoir on this thing, you'd better be pretty selective with your wording. All kidding aside, the L0 HE is designed to be used exclusively for gaming, but why make a keyboard with this design if you can't use it for other stuff? And the answer is basically desk space. It frees up a ton of space on the desk. For competitive shooters like Valorant or Counter-Strike, or even more casual stuff like Battlefield and Call of Duty, there are plenty of players out there that want to keep their mouse sensitivity as low as it can possibly go so that they can really lock in on those micro movements when precision matters the most, and that means that you're flinging your mouse halfway across the desk, so a larger keyboard could limit how far you can fling your mouse, or it might just be in the way entirely. Something like the L0 HE cuts the desk space a normal keyboard takes up literally in half, so even compared to some of the mini keyboards that are out there with super condensed layouts to save desk space, this provides even more than that, at the trade of needing another keyboard if you're going to be using your computer for literally anything else. But the good news is that all 35 of the keys on this mini keyboard are packing some top-of-the-line features you'd expect from premium gaming keyboards that are hitting the market these days. The L0 HE has Lemokey's Lime magnetic switches in it to bake in features like adjustable per key actuation down to a 0.1mm actuation point and a 0.01mm sensitivity, and you combine that with an 8000 Hz polling rate, and this is a super responsive keyboard for competitive play. And then there's dynamic keystrokes, so you can set one key to be multiple keys depending on the depth of the press, which is awesome to be able to walk and sprint with just one key. And then they've got dynamic rapid trigger too, so a key is immediately deactivated as soon as you start to lift away for as little of a delay as possible, along with last keystroke prioritization and snap click, a sibling of the infamous snap tap or SOCD, simultaneous opposing cardinal directions. Last keystroke prioritization means if you're strafing with D and A, you can keep holding down both keys, and the last key you pressed is the one that takes the priority. But then with snap click, which is the equivalent of Wooting's Rappy Snappy, kind of like Snap Tap as well, but instead of prioritizing the last key press, Snap Click prioritizes the deepest key press. So combining these together basically means that strafing in a game like Valorant is going to feel more responsive, but you use those at your own risk though, especially in the competitive scene, because they have been pretty controversial because they are actually so good. And then finally there is analog mode, which we'll get into the polling rates and sensitivity options shortly, but analog mode basically uses the depth of the magnetic switches to let this keyboard work like a trigger or an analog stick on on a controller, so the depth of a key press on your keyboard could let you control the throttle in a racing game or how fast you move around the game with the movement keys. So it's not just a press and depress keystroke kind of situation. Now, all of these features can be changed on the Lemokey web app, and there is no local software to download. Everything is handled through your web browser, and then the settings are actually saved to the keyboard itself. So you can rebind keys, change actuation settings, turn on and off these features, basically do whatever you need to do in the Lemokey app in any browser, including adjust the polling rate. But one of the cool things about this keyboard is that if you do need to adjust the polling rate on the fly for one reason or another, there's actually a physical switch on the back that lets you toggle between low, average speed, and faster speed. And as you'd expect, there's also plenty of lighting customization here too. From full-on RGB to solid colors and everything in between, they've got tons of options for you to get in there and find the look that matches your setup. And yes, you can turn down the lighting if you want a more laid-back, muted kind of look, or go full-on gamer RGB mode, whatever works for you. But when it comes to the switches, I was actually pleasantly surprised because the Lemokey Lime switches are linear and have a nice kind of thocky sound to them, something that I actually wouldn't mind having on a full-sized keyboard too. So in fact, here's a sound test for you to get a feel of what you can expect. Now, the switch point brings out one of the weird odd choices about this keyboard that they made, because the switches are hot swappable, but the keyboard isn't compatible with most of the common switch brands that are out there on the market. In fact, on the website, they say, quote, the L0 HE is compatible exclusively with the Lemokey ultra-fast Lime magnetic switch. It does not support other magnetic switches such as the Gatoron Magnetic Jade or the Gatoron KS20 magnetic switches. So I suppose it's nice that they're hot swappable, and maybe there are more Lemokey switches that are planned for the future, and it would be nice to be able to swap out the switches if they wear out over time, even though these are good for a reported 100 million key presses. But this isn't exactly a hot swappable keyboard. I don't think that's a deal breaker for most people, but if you're buying a half of a keyboard, you might be more of an enthusiast than others, so just something for you to know. The other thing to call out here, just one more time, is that you are getting half a keyboard. This is 1000% designed for the hardcore crowd that's looking for as much desk space as possible and is focused entirely on gaming. I mean, it could be a secondary keyboard, one that you pop out when you're ready to play, but it's kind of like the equivalent of buying a controller, really. You're not going to buy an Xbox controller to write an essay, so don't expect to use this keyboard to do much beyond the basics of navigating around the menus. And also, I didn't have a controller nearby, so I used this little squishy thing. Now, as I'm recording this, it's coming in at $159, which is not a small price to pay for any keyboard, let alone a one-handed keyboard that you can use pretty much exclusively for gaming. But if you are looking for a product just like this, there aren't really a ton of options out there from reputable companies like Lemokey, which again is from Keychron, out there on the market that have the one-handed design plus magnetic switches, plus the design flourishes, plus the polling rates and all the other little features they've thrown in here. I'd consider this a high-end piece of tech for a very specific audience of people that are looking for this one-handed design combined with the responsiveness and high-end features that come with a keyboard like this that are willing to spend the cash on something that's going to be a core part of their dedicated competitive gaming setup. Now, I am not that guy looking for this very specific design, and I'm not nearly good enough to be anywhere near the competitive scene, so I would take my 160 and buy a full-sized keyboard with a lot of the same features. But if I am the guy that's looking for as much desk space as possible for competitive gaming, then here's the solution for you. But of course, I would love to hear from you down below. How are you feeling about the Lemokey L0 HE one-handed keyboard? Are you in the market for one of these with the strange design? And if you were on the fence, would you want to give one of these a shot for yourself? Or are you going to stick to the tried and true classic full-sized keyboard, or maybe something in between? I'd love to know your thoughts. And hey, if you're new here, you like what you see and what you hear, hit that subscribe button for videos like this every week and gaming news shorts throughout the week to keep you in the loop, and I'll catch you on the next one.